The Super Speedway Podcast is a Dream Bigger media production. For news, photos, show notes, and information about advertising on the podcast, visit www.thesuperspeedway.com.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 63 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded Wednesday, June 6th, 2018. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, how's it going?
I did not wreck the pace car on my way here, so we are good.
That is good. That is good. Hey,
Made it
they got
safely.
a ton of publicity out of that. So there's a thread on Reddit that, okay, if for anybody who's living under a rock and doesn't know what we're talking about, this weekend was the Detroit Duel in Detroit, the Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isle for the Indy cars. And in race number 2 on Sunday, which I happened to be at, the pace car driver, who is one of the head engineers at GM, driving a GM-provided Corvette, made it through turn 2 and then wrecked into the wall and delayed the start of the race by about, delayed the start of the race by about 40 minutes or so. So they could clean up the debris and make sure the cars were back on pit road, and nobody had a fuel advantage and nobody had flat tires and all this mess. But I don't even know what I was going to say now, but it was interesting to say the least.
That was definitely the biggest racing news of the week.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was saying. There's a Reddit thread where people are suspecting that it was intentional to get publicity.
That's so
for
stupid.
GM.
Yeah, because crashing your car head on into a concrete barrier is good publicity.
I'll tell you what, they got a lot of TV time.
Yeah, they did, and the safety features worked, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it was.
It's not the craziest pace car thing I've ever seen. I can think of 2 other incidents off the top of my head that I think are absolutely crazier than that.
Yeah,
Maybe 3.
it was. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the Paul Menard, hitting the truck, the jet dryer.
You mean Juan Pablo?
Sorry,
You got Paul Menard on the brain.
I'm Pablo.
I know
Jeez,
you're a big Paul Menard
Pablo.
fan, so it makes
Yes.
sense.
God, my God, Paul Menard. Why do I have Paul Menard on the brain?
I don't
Anyway,
know. He's going to win this
Juan
weekend,
Pablo.
probably.
Yeah, no, he's not. So yes, Juan Pablo and the jet dryer. Thank you for the good correction there. Good grief. And then remember the Daytona 500 a couple years ago? Or no, it wasn't the 500. It was the Sprint Unlimited at the time. But remember the pace car caught on fire?
Yep.
The Chevy SS?
Yep.
Chevys don't have very good luck as pace cars.
There was a car that hit a pace car in ARCA at Daytona.
Yep, so I remember that.
And
There was the pace car that hit the photographer tower in Indy?
Yep.
Indy 500?
Yep. There was we had a safety truck get hit at Richmond by I want to say Scott Speed several years ago. And
remember when
then,
Fenton hit the ambulance?
Yeah. And
Or tried to hit the ambulance?
And then we had the pace car get stolen at Talladega back in the late
Oh,
80s,
that's
early 90s.
Yes, that's a crazy one too.
Yeah. But
Gosh.
it definitely ranks up there. And I would say it was probably not the worst accident of the weekend at Belle Isle, but it was one of the worst accidents of the weekend for sure. Top 3.
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you. What a strange deal.
Yeah.
But you and I were texting about the iRacing ad for Belle Isle.
Yeah.
And how brilliant of an ad that was.
Yeah.
Basically just they have an Indy car going over, and it's the exact same camera shot.
Yep.
And the exact same spin, and then the tagline, "It's not as easy as it looks."
Yeah.
Just thought that was so good.
It's
nice work by iRacing. They're having a great week, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, with they have some new additions to their graphics engine, I think,
Mm-hmm.
making grass and stuff fly all over. I don't know. I digress.
It looks pretty impressive.
Yeah, they got some cool stuff going on. But
Every time they launch something, the Belle Isle is just another reason for me to really look at.
I tweeted at you and I said that's exactly what I said. This is maybe the push that Eric needs.
It's not going to happen because I like being married, and I don't think I will be anymore if I get iRacing. So I don't have enough time in my life, man.
Well, think of it this way. How old are the boys?
They're 6.
Okay, so you've got 12 years before you can get iRacing.
Yeah.
Once they're 18, I mean, what do you got?
Right.
By
then they'll just implant it into my head.
Right.
So it'll be better.
Right.
All right. So there was a race this weekend, James.
There was a couple.
Yeah, and I don't know how much you watched them because I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of them because I was in Belle Isle. But we had the Pocono 400 at Pocono International Raceway, I believe is the official name of the track. I don't know. These tracks have changed their names so much that I can't keep track.
Right.
Old MTJ gets himself back in victory lane. Martin Truex Jr. gets
impressive run.
Gets the win. I don't even know what happened. I literally watched the first stage of the Cup race, and then it was like 11 o'clock at night or so on Sunday night, and I'm like, there's no way I'm sitting through the rest of this. Let me look it up and see who won, and then watch the crash video on YouTube that shows all the accidents from the weekend. Yeah, and that's what I did.
Well, and that's good. Well, and I caught bits and pieces of racing all weekend. I watched quite a bit of this race, and basically it didn't really seem like it was going to be a Truex day. He stole stage one from Harvick. Harvick kind of gave him a good charge, but Truex held him off, took stage one. Then Harvick came back, took stage two, and it looked like it was going to be a Kevin Harvick day. But then there was a late caution. And there was some tire strategy, and there was a lot of fuel strategy throughout the day. But when the race restarted, Truex was out front and just held everybody off. And Harvick kind of faded, which was kind of strange to see. Usually, we're not used to seeing Harvick fade late in a race. But Larson gave Truex a good. You know what it reminded me of MIS last August. Truex was kind of in the spot there, and Larson. At Michigan, Larson was able to take advantage of him on a restart, but this time Truex held him off and took the checkered flag, and it looks like we might have a 3-horse race for the championship now. I think Martin Truex Jr., now being a 2-time winner this season, might have entered that conversation. I don't know.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Okay, I agree. I think Martin Truex, as the defending champion, he's in the conversation. He's driving a Toyota. He hasn't been bad this year. He's been spectacular, but he hasn't been up
to his numbers last year, which were astronomical.
Right. A lot of that was because they figured the system out before everybody else did. Mm-hmm. And now that's not the case anymore. Everybody knows the system, and so he's not going to be able to click off those stage wins consistently like he was doing then. But here's the thing. I saw that in notes, and I do agree. Martin Truex is in the picture. But I think Pocono really provides a really good look at the picture. Because you got Martin Truex Jr. in first, you got Kyle Busch in third, you got Kevin Harvick in fourth, but who got second again?
Larson.
And he's right in there too, man. I know he doesn't have the wins, he doesn't have the finishes, but he's run well this year.
He has done very well this year compared to the rest of the Chevrolets.
Right, that's the thing.
He's having an A season.
And Kevin Harvick said Tuesday night on Happy Hours that he feels that Larson is outperforming the car, essentially. He's carrying a lesser car at the moment. And I don't know if he meant that because he's driving a Chip Ganassi car, if it's because he's in a Chevrolet and the Chevys are disadvantaged right now. But either way, you got Larson there finishing second. He's run consistently up front in a car that we all can agree when Jimmy Johnson is running where he's running, Chase Elliott's running where he's running, that this car is not up to par with the rest of them. And I think that makes Larson a contender, a big-time contender as well, regardless.
Look at his teammate. That's another great bar to look at. And Jamie McMurray is just non-existent this year,
right?
And Kyle Larson's making the best of his situation by far.
I heard Eddie Cheever say that this weekend at the IndyCar race, and he's right. It applies more to IndyCar than it does to NASCAR. But if you really want to see how good a driver is doing, look at how his teammate's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if that driver is way outperforming the teammate, then he's obviously doing really well. And again, IndyCar is more about the car, less about the driver, although they've changed that a little bit this year. But with NASCAR, it doesn't quite translate over. But still, I mean, these guys are getting equal equipment. They are. So the fact that he's outperforming McMurray as much as he is, and just, I mean, every Chevrolet, there's no Chevrolet touching him.
No. Not even close. Nope. And the only one who's even making a little bit of noise lately is Jimmy Johnson.
Right.
And he is only because he has started to ascend.
Right.
Back into the top 10, and he's just at the early stage. He's on the first tee of his ascension back to the top of the mountain. So He's got a long way to go. Kyle Larson's digging, and doing a fine job. I'm kind of looking at his season stats right now. He's got a couple of really bad finishes, a couple of crashes, but other than that, he's got a ton of top 10s and top 5s. So
I say strongly that if Larson gets himself to Homestead, he wins the championship.
That's my belief as well. I think you and I agree on that completely. I look at the way he ran at Kansas, and he had a really great day that day. 101 laps he led, finished fourth, and that's a good barometer of what you could see at Homestead. So he's definitely, he goes those types of tracks, and he's going to have a shot. So, right. And that's a good thing. We need to have somebody. We need to have somebody shake up the party. It's great. I don't mind the dominance of Harvick and Kyle Busch. I mean, those guys are definitely the two alphas, but we need more entrance into the show.
Yeah,
and if we get Truex and Larson, we're good.
I pulled this up before the show because I wanted to look at it. We had Austin Dillon win the first race of the year. Then we had Kevin Harvick click off 3. Truex snuck in there, got 1. Clint Bowyer sneaks in there, gets 1. Now we have 3 Kyle Busch wins. Joey Logano sneaks in there, then 2 Kevin Harvick, then a Kyle Busch, then a Martin Truex. So you take Clint Bowyer, Joey Logano, and Austin Dillon out of there, and those 3 drivers have won every race this year.
Yep.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, usually it's mixed up a little bit. At this time of year, it's not strange to have a guy have 3 wins, 2 wins, 3 wins.
Right.
But to have 2 guys, setting the bar as high as Harvick and Busch are, and then you got Truex just hanging around. He's kind of hanging around. And this win this week really propelled him into a much better spot. But I was looking at the playoff points that Harvick and Busch have both earned. I think they're at 25 apiece or something like really close to that.
Okay.
Let's double check really quick where they're at in the playoff standings.
Yeah, I don't have that pulled up.
Kyle Busch is number 1, so Harvick must be right behind him. It's like 26 and 25. They're really close. But the next closest person is Truex, and he's not in double digits yet. I think he's at 9. So it's if it continues at this pace, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick might be locks for Homestead, by the time we get to the playoffs. So we might be fighting for 1 or 2 spots by the time, we see how the season plays out. And obviously we have a long way to go, but just an interesting note that I had seen on that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. What else we got? I mean, is there anything else to talk about Pocono for the Cup Series at least?
No, it was I thought
Bubba
the
Wallace
racing
finished last with an engine
issue.
He
had Richard Petty was joking with him and said, "We're going to get you an automatic transmission next time we come out there." He had some issues, similar to what Dale Jr. was dealing with last year, with that shifting deal. Kind of caught him.
34 of 38 cars running at the end. So
yes, I thought the racing was good. I really liked what Fox did as well. Fox was showing a lot of mid-pack racing. I noticed they were doing that a little bit this season, but it seemed like they were really focused on it this week.
I feel like they did that a lot at Charlotte too, which is why that race didn't feel as painful with Kyle Busch running away with it.
Yeah. So I don't know if Fox has kind of stumbled onto something here, but I thought the racing was pretty good. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about the Xfinity race, but I thought the race on the Cup side was a lot better than the Xfinity race. So that's just my opinion. I did check out the Xfinity race a little bit because I wanted to watch the Aero package.
Well, let's talk about that then. I did not watch I watched some of it. I watched. I had somebody spoil the race for me, not you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I know by now. I've been whipped into shape.
I had somebody send me a text message like literally right at the end of the race, and I was in the car on my way to Detroit when it came across. So I was working all day, so I couldn't watch. I watched the beginning of it, and then I watched probably watched the first stage and a half of that one, just because I wanted to get a feel for the racing. And from what I saw and from what I've heard, it sounds like this is not the package for Pocono.
No, they were. It looked really slow. Really slow.
Well,
I mean,
you got to slow down so much in the turns, and this package is not a good package for getting off the throttle.
It just didn't lead to good racing, and the drivers were kind of ticked off, and I don't know. It just didn't look. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Charlotte looked like a lot of fun as a fan watching. This did not.
Right.
It just didn't translate.
Yeah, I would really like to see them try this package, and we're going to talk about it here in a minute. Actually, talk about it right now. That the Cup Series they're planning on or talking about running in at least 3 races or possibly as many as 3 races this season. I would really like to see them try this package without the restrictor plate.
Yeah, me too.
Just to see what would happen if the aero stuff is enough. Especially on a track like Pocono where you've got you have to let off the gas. You need throttle response in this with
Yeah,
this
you
thing.
need some power to
And you're
get through
talking
the
an
corner.
Xfinity car, which already doesn't have the throttle response that the Cup car has. And then you restrict it even more. It's no surprise that it was not good at Pocono. But it was worth a shot. I mean, at least they tried it.
Well, if you're going to do it in the Xfinity Series. Who cares if it puts on a stink show? It's, the thing that you should always care about, number one, first and foremost, is making sure that the Cup show is good.
Right.
And if you have to sacrifice some Xfinity Series races along the way, then that's my opinion is so be it.
Right.
Use that as a testing ground to try these things out. That's not,
maybe
whatever.
Maybe,
Go ahead.
Maybe this tells us that this package isn't ready for testing in the Cup Series at a points-paying event. Maybe we need more data in the Xfinity Series before we test it on the big stage.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
I mean, we'll see what happens this weekend. I think this weekend's going to be a real big test for the Xfinity cars at Michigan. I think you're going to see something much more reminiscent of Charlotte, what we saw in the Cup Series, or, I mean, even closer to Daytona or Talladega at Michigan. I think it's going to be spectacular there.
I think the package is strong when the drivers are required to build momentum.
Right.
And like you said, at Pocono, you need that throttle response. You can't build momentum at Pocono.
Right.
But where you can build momentum through the corners and get a run is Michigan.
Right.
And that's a great place to try it out. And I saw Pockrass. Pockrass is calling for, a test of 20 to 30 cars in the Cup Series.
Okay.
He says show up at a Cup weekend, bring a test car, or even have the cars somewhat set up to the point where you just have to change a couple of things over after a race on Sunday and run these cars on a Monday and see what happens.
The thing
He's
is,
calling for some big stuff, but
that stuff never works because they don't run like they race.
Right, and that's why the All-Star race works.
Right, you're never going to get them to go out there and run like they're running for the money because they're not. They're not running. You got to give them an incentive to run hard. Otherwise, nobody's going to show their hand. They're all going to just sit back and learn and not push the edge.
Exactly.
So I don't think that that's the answer.
Yeah, you got to test under race conditions, and that's why I said I like using the Xfinity Series for something like that. That's you're actually racing for something.
Right. But I mean, we've talked too about how different these cars are than the Cup cars too, that it may not give us an accurate representation in the Xfinity Series of what we see in Cup. Who knows? Maybe the Cup cars will be fine at Pocono with this package because they've got more throttle response. But I doubt it. I don't. Yeah. I think you're going to see a very similar result with
unless you can figure out a way to increase grip without adding banking. I think you're gonna run into the same problems.
Would you possibly do that by bringing a new tire to the track?
I mean, there's there's options. I'm
just kind of trying to lead into the fact that they're bringing a new tire to Michigan this weekend.
There you go.
I mean, we're not at that point in the notes yet, but is that something?
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
So, let's finish up the Xfinity Series real quick. Kyle Busch gets the win there, and like you said, nobody really impressed. I don't think the fans were happy. I don't think the drivers were happy. I think everybody was pretty disappointed with the
drivers
with the turnout.
hated it.
Yeah. I don't care if the drivers like it, and we're going to talk about that next because I don't want the drivers to be happy with it. I want them to hate it.
Right.
So, all right. So, James, I'll kind of let you lead this. You kind of brought it up first. I do have a quote from Brad Keselowski that I'm going to read. But Goodyear is bringing a new tire to Michigan this weekend. What do you know about it? Because you read the article right before we went on the air.
We were looking for notes for news because this has actually been a quiet week. I know sometimes you and I come on here and we get upset with penalties and stuff, but there's not a whole lot of news.
Well, and I guess we could mention that Kyle Busch did have a penalty in the Xfinity Series race. I hate.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, let me do this again. I'm gonna say my piece. They need to take the wins away, especially in the Xfinity Series where these drivers don't care.
Yep.
I mean, he doesn't care? He gets a trophy. He gets the cash.
In the rec book.
Yep, that's it. That's all that matters to Kyle Busch. He's not racing for the points.
Nope.
So any penalty they give him isn't going to matter. So unless they take the win away, it doesn't matter. All right,
totally.
Next topic.
So we're talking a little bit about tires. So in April, I believe, they ran a tire test at Michigan.
Yep.
And there were some teams there, and they all made suggestions based on what they liked and what they didn't like.
And they tested a few different compounds, right?
Yep, there was a few different compounds, and the teams that were there was Eric Almirola, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, and Martin Truex Jr. So they tested a few compounds, and the drivers had their opinion, and then a press release comes out this week, and Brad Keselowski says, I did not sign off on this.
Right.
We made some suggestions, but...
Here's the quote from Brad. He tweeted out today. He says, where do I ask to be taken off of a press release? He says, our team and several others tested multiple tire compounds and recommended every one of them but this one. In no way do I want to be associated with this decision.
So there you go. So what they're doing, just a little bit on the technical side of things, the right side tire in the past was a multi-zone tread tire. They are now bringing a single tread tire, and they're hoping that increases the wear and runs the tire a little bit cooler. And I think for the left side, just an updated construction of the tire. And it's very similar to what they run on other speedway tracks, something that they haven't run at Michigan in the past. So, again, they're trying to look for more wear on the tires,
right?
Which is good. I think as race fans, we should want more wear on tires. We want tire fall off. We want these cars harder to drive. But if the drivers are that unhappy, and like you said, you're happy that they're not happy.
I don't care. I don't want them to be happy. I want them to be uncomfortable. That's the way it should be. And
we gotta trust Goodyear on this. I think Goodyear gets a bad rap all the time. But
wait a minute.
I think
you're a Tony Stewart fan, and you're gonna trust Goodyear?
Well, I mean,
come on, man. I'm disappointed in you.
I know this is what they do, though, so we have to give them a benefit of the doubt at some point, right?
Yeah.
At some extent. I know Goodyear screws up enough, but
I trust Goodyear. I don't think they're going to put anybody in danger out there. I mean, we have seen a failure in this before, like at Indy when they had their debacle. I don't think Goodyear's pushed the envelope since the Indy incident.
No, I think absolutely. Their tires are consistently hard and
right. I think they're pretty comfortable and staying as safe as possible after that incident. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. It's a scary place to test a tire that wears out because they go fast.
Yeah, absolutely. You are correct about that. They put a lot of stress on those tires at Michigan because they are flying out there, 212 miles an hour into the corner, and that's a ton of force on those tires.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, you never know until you try, I guess.
Yeah. Again,
same thing with the aero package.
Applaud them for trying it. I guess I don't understand the point in bringing drivers to a tire test if you're not going to take their advice.
Right.
But obviously Goodyear saw something they liked.
Yeah. I mean, Goodyear's got the data.
Right.
And they're going to go off what the data tells them. So
basically, it sounds like they wanted fall off.
Yep. And I am pro fall off.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too, because it makes it a lot more, especially when you're having trouble passing. You get that late race caution, and now you have the choice to pit or not pit, and that makes it interesting. It changes things up at the end. It gives somebody else a chance, and it gives you the opportunity for passing. And Michigan is a track that you run. You get fuel mileage a lot of times. You get long green flag runs, so there's opportunities for strategy.
Yep.
And if we can play with strategy with tires a little bit to make the race more interesting, that's better because you're probably not going to get a race where you've got a ton of passing for the lead at the end. So if you can shake it up with strategy a little bit, makes it interesting.
And the drivers have to be on their A game too, because you can go like heck and make up positions and try to get up front and try to run away. But if you burn up your tires, you're going to come right back, and the field's going to blow your doors off. So it takes a special skill set not to burn those tires down while you're maintaining your position and trying to advance yourself forward. So adds a little bit of extra driver talent to the ongoings at Michigan International Speedway. So.
I like it.
I
like it. Let's try it. Let's do it.
Yep.
All right. I think that's pretty much it for NASCAR news this week. It's pretty quiet.
Good quiet week.
We, as I mentioned, I was down in Detroit at Belle Isle for the Detroit Grand Prix this weekend. I did not get to go both days, but I did make it for Sunday and got to experience the whole IndyCar thing from inside the track. And it was interesting. It was really interesting. Very different than NASCAR. I will say the biggest difference for me was just the amount of activity on race day. Because if you go to a NASCAR race, you go to a Cup Series race, you go Sunday, there's one thing on the track. That's it. You have the Cup race. That's all. There's no races beforehand or afterwards. The only time you have that is if there's a rain delay or something and they do a doubleheader as a result. We did have a couple times last year where we qualified on the same day. But at Belle Isle, first thing in the morning, they had qualifying at Belle Isle, and of course it rained in the morning, so we got to see Firestone brought some new rain tires for the first time to the IndyCar series, and we got to see those on track during qualifying, which was interesting. Ryan Hunter-Reay struggled, spun out twice, and even got a penalty as a result of that, and still managed to come back and win the race. But yeah, so we had that, and then we had a Trans Am race after that, and then the Robbie Gordon Truck Series, which was way better than I expected it to be, and then the IndyCar race afterwards, and of course we got to see a demolition derby in the middle with the pace car, so that was fun. So I mean, it was a barrage of activity on the track, and in between that, the track was only ever open. They had a handicap crossing because there's no tunnel or anything. It's literally an island with roads. If you've never been to Belle Isle, it's a state park essentially, and they build a track there, and that was the most impressive thing to me because most of it doesn't look like temporary structures, but it's all temporary. Like they use the casino there that's permanent, and the fountain is the backdrop for Victory Lane, but that's it. Everything else is completely temporary. Even the walls. I mean, pit wall where the crews jump over is always there, but that's it. So, so there's no tunnel or anything, so they have to close the track to cross. But there was only about a 10-minute window to cross that track, and then they were running. They had a bunch of Camaros and I forget what else, streetcars basically, that they were flying around that track, doing some ride experience thing before the IndyCar race, and they sounded like freaking race cars. It was nuts. But and they managed to keep those out of the wall, so just the pace car.
Right.
But it was pretty interesting. I really like the fact that IndyCar does the podium after the race. I think that's kind of neat to get the second place and third place drivers up there and do the little trophy presentation. And at Belle Isle, they do it in front of the fountain, which is absolutely beautiful. I think this is the first year that they've had the fountain working, if I heard correctly. And it was absolutely just beautiful. They've put a lot of money into Belle Isle. I guess they said Roger Penske puts about $1 million a year, or brings in I don't remember exactly what it was.
Oh, that's cool.
But they've been putting money into this thing, and I watched some video of the 2012 race, which I think was the first year they came back to Belle Isle, and just looking at the track and the setup and the shape of the surface and all that, it's completely updated from what it was back then. It looks like a different place. But I've never been. This was a two-way win for me because I've always wanted to go to a road course race, especially a street circuit, and I've always wanted to go to an IndyCar race. I've never been to either, and I got to experience both in the same day. And it was interesting because I'm used to going to a NASCAR race where I go to Michigan, and I used to get frustrated when we sat down low and you could only see the front stretch. I like to see the whole track, and most NASCAR tracks you go to, you can see the whole track. And here, you literally saw the cars for 10, 15 seconds, and you watch the rest on a big TV screen. But it was interesting. They did a great job of positioning the screens where you could see very well. You knew what was going on. They had a good sound or public address system, so you could hear. And it was just a completely different aspect. And I think you gained something from it because instead of looking everywhere, trying to catch everything, you just focused on your part of the track, and that's all you had to worry about. And so you were watching everything that happened in front of you, which was really interesting. So they weren't as loud as I thought they would be. They're not as loud as NASCAR cars.
Yeah, they got the whizzing engine, as I like. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was interesting this weekend because they had this new aero package they've been running this year, which is less downforce. Interesting because it's the same thing Cup was experimenting with. Less downforce, so it's more in the driver's hands, less in the car, and it changed things up quite a bit. The finish of the race was spectacular. For those who didn't watch it, Alexander Rossi got the pole in qualifying, and he had the strategy. It was him all day. No way anybody was going to beat him. Perfect strategy. Everything executed perfectly. Cautions came out at the right time. Pit stops at the right time. He's got like a 10-second, 12-second lead over Ryan Hunter-Reay at the end, and Hunter just eats him up. Just comes from nowhere. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, he's not going to do it. Holy cow, he's there. And 10 laps to go, he's right on Alexander Rossi's tail, and going into turn 3, Rossi locked him up. And the first lap he locked him up and still made the turn, kept the lead. The second lap he locked him up and hit the runoff and completely missed the turn. Came back for like a 9th place finish or something like that. And Ryan Hunter-Reay got the win. So it was a really exciting race for a street circuit, which isn't always that exciting. But I think they do a spectacular job at Belle Isle. It's an island, so there's not much parking on the island. They do a good job with shuttles, carting people out there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how was it getting like to the event off the island? Was it pretty difficult, or did they have it pretty set up?
I walked less. I walked a ton, but that's because I didn't use the shuttles a lot during the day. But I walked less getting to the track and from the track than I do at Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing.
I parked in a parking garage right by the Renaissance Center. I was there early, so I walked off the first floor of the parking garage out to the shuttle, got on the shuttle. Within 5 minutes, it was heading to the track. Get to the track, they let you off right at the front entrance. You walk, 100 yards. You go over the steps over the track, and you're inside the track, and that's it. And same way getting out. Of course, I left later than some people. I didn't stay as late as I would typically stay as media, but I stayed a little later, and so the getting out was really easy too. I had to wait about 10 minutes for a bus, and they just have hundreds and hundreds of buses just lined up to just cart people. Every time a bus stops, it's loaded. As soon as it's loaded, it's gone. And they do a great job with it. So, and no traffic once I got the parking garage. I just drove right out of Detroit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How was the crowd compared to, like, it's probably hard to compare because in NASCAR, the grandstands are basically just bunched up at one time. This is kind of a different setting, but
right.
Was there a lot of like IndyCar fans, racing fans, or what was the feel of the crowd?
There were a few IndyCar fans. It wasn't the diehard like you have NASCAR.
Yeah, was it mostly like promotional type things where people were like,
there's a lot more like hospitality type seating than there is actual seating. Like, I looked back in 2012, they had grandstands on the front stretch at the start finish line. There's no grandstands there anymore. The grandstand is in turn 1. Down the front stretch is all corporate suites type stuff. They're not really suites. It's a corporate tent. It's a 2-deck tent. And that's all that the seating is there on the front stretch. So if you want to sit at the start finish line, you're either sitting on the inside grandstand behind pit road, or you're in a corporate seat. You can't sit in a grandstand and sit at the start finish line. You can still see the start finish line from where you are.
Right.
So there's a lot more of that. There were some IndyCar fans. The IndyCar fans are interesting because instead of, NASCAR, you see all your NASCAR fans in their T-shirts with all the splashy graphics and stuff on them. A lot of the IndyCar stuff is a polo shirt with, like, it looks like you're part of the team. It's almost a team livery. So it's a lot different. It's a completely different crowd. I mean, even the food in the media center was fancier than NASCAR, which I was not a fan of. I would rather have good old fashioned American
the pizza,
food.
the burgers.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the shrimp that they had with the media center meal, and in the morning, like at MIS, they give you donuts, and here they had these pastries that were all kinds of weird concoctions of things, and that wasn't my deal. But
can you imagine what an F1 media center?
I don't think I could. I'm not even interested anymore.
Oh, man, that's cool, though. You know what I really liked and you shared a ton of content.
I tried to.
And please check it out on thesuperspeedway.com. Eric is an awesome photographer and took some really great shots. Your Instagram feed was really cool, too. But I got a kick out of watching the trucks.
Yeah.
Watching the Speed Energy trucks.
It was the best race of the weekend, I tell you. And they had a heck of a wreck, which ended the race early. They only run... let's see. It was probably like a 12-lap race was what it was scheduled to be. They're so much slower than the IndyCars. They run the same track as the IndyCars do. They put a few ramps down. They cut some corners. They don't have them run the IndyCar line so they can get more speed through the corners. But holy cow, it was a spectacular race and good battling, lots of contact, and one of the trucks crashed over in I think it was one of the backstretch turns, crashed and flipped. And they ended up they run it right before the IndyCar race. Like, it butts right up to opening ceremonies. And because they had extended red flag to get him out of the truck because he was a little shaken up, they did not get to finish the race.
Those every week with the IndyCars, or is this
on
just
the road circuits they do?
Okay.
I don't know if they do every week on the oval tracks, but I know they're running them this weekend at Charlotte or at Texas with the IndyCars.
That's cool.
They have usually it's just all asphalt, but Texas they're using part of the Legends course, and then they go into the infield, and I guess there's a gigantic double or tabletop or something a dirt tabletop in the infield for the trucks. So that's going to be supposed to be really cool. But
that is cool.
They mentioned on the loudspeakers during the race that they're in talks with running with the V8 supercars next year too in Australia.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be great.
So it's a great series. It's a really good support series. It's fun to watch. It kind of reminds me of when they did the rally cars at Loudon a few years ago with NASCAR, except that they don't have to put any dirt down. They just run them right on the asphalt. They put down some temporary ramps. Took them about 15 minutes to set the ramps up, and it was great.
That's cool.
I was expecting it to be fun, but I wasn't expecting it to be the best race of the weekend. The Trans Am cars I could have done without.
Probably the best thing that Robbie Gordon's ever done.
Yeah, could be. Hey, Robbie Gordon's won in an IndyCar at Belle Isle before.
That's cool, man.
So he did not race the Truck Series, so I don't know if he's running that this year or what, but he was not there racing.
He's definitely the boss. He's the boss man. So.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was a good experience. I'd definitely go back. If you're in Michigan and you have a chance to go to Belle Isle, the tickets are dirt cheap. And you can IndyCar is a lot different than NASCAR. You can get a paddock pass, and it's basically a garage pass. So you can buy a garage pass as part of your ticket package. The garages aren't garages at Belle Isle because it's all temporary. So they have big tents and stuff set up in the pits. Supposedly, it's really easy to see the drivers and stuff at that. I didn't get the chance to see them, but I didn't hang out there very much. I don't really care for the garage.
Well, you had
area.
the Indy 500 champ spray you with champagne, so
yes, I have a picture on the website, thesuperspeedway.com of
so you got pretty close.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was good stuff. So it was fun. I'll do it again.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I was floored by some of the pictures you got, and I thought how cool it looked. So
well, and awesome. I didn't have very good access as far as photography either. They pretty much IndyCar really limits, especially on a street course, because it's all temporary. So the walls move and stuff. They don't want people close to the walls if they don't have to be. So they pretty much limit the photo vests, the close to the track photographers to people that are really, really necessary. And unfortunately, the superspeedway.com with our tens of visitors, it was not quite up to par to get me real close to the track, but
snobs
still managed to get some stuff and get some good photos out of it. So I was happy.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, speaking of having access to the track, I'm going to be all over the place this weekend at Michigan. It's the Firekeepers Casino 400 at Michigan International Speedway, the Monster Energy Cup Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and ARCA will be there as well. And I'm going down. I'll be there bright and early Friday morning to go to the photo meeting, and I will be there all weekend. So there'll be tons of content this week if you're following along. So
yes.
Lots of press conferences on Friday. I'll try and write some stuff up, hopefully ask some questions, but want to get some...
we've got Larson's coming to the press conference. Mark Martin, I saw.
Martin will be there Sunday morning.
I wonder what he's up to.
I don't know
why he's there.
Well, I thought it was interesting that Team Penske has a press conference at 12:30 p.m. on Sunday, and so I don't know if that's just. I mean,
maybe Mark's going to pull a Matt Kenseth and kick Ryan Blaney out of the 12 car.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. but it is interesting that they have it. I haven't seen anything published about it, and maybe it's a common thing. Penske's got pretty good Michigan connections and stuff. So
yeah, Mark doesn't go to the racetrack very often either, which is kind of.
But Michigan's his track. He's been real successful at Michigan. So
yeah.
So
one of the best races I ever saw at Michigan was a Mark Martin win, and he had the best wreck I've ever seen at Michigan. So
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
and Michigan's a Roush track too. So
yep.
Maybe he's got something to do with Roush. Who knows? Who knows what he's up to?
Yeah. That's cool though.
Yeah.
Maybe he's going to plug the podcast.
There you go. Could be.
His podcast. He has a podcast.
No, he'll plug ours.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Definitely. I mean,
maybe. Hey, we're in the podcast fraternity now.
Hey,
we
Mark,
stick together.
Mark and I are down. I've gotten his autograph before, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
Stood in line for 3 hours at Kmart to get his autograph, so.
At a Kmart, and that would never happen again because Kmart barely exists anymore.
They still send me a lot of emails, though, about their deals.
We went here's a non-racing sidebar since we're going down this road. I was at Kmart last weekend and they asked me, would you like to sign up for a Sears credit card? And I could not believe it when they asked me the question. And I thought, who in their right mind,
man?
who in their right mind would want that? So anyway, good luck to all the Kmart and Sears
hey, that's good at like 5 of stores around the country.
Jeez, Pete, God.
Yeah. I don't even have anything to say that. All right, so Michigan International Speedway this weekend, Firekeepers Casino 400. We're going to see the aero package for the Xfinity cars, but our Cup cars are going to be back to the normal, no experimenting this weekend for them. And I guess I get the first pick. So, James, you told me before the podcast that you're going to talk me into a pick.
Yeah.
So give it to me. Talk me into it.
Last year, you wrote a piece, and you were pretty adamant that there was no way Kyle Larson was going to win 3 in a row.
Right.
And he sure did.
Right.
And he probably didn't deserve to win 3 in a row that day, but he took it at the end.
Did you picked Kyle Larson last year?
I did. Yeah, because I think you left it open for me.
Yeah, I left it open last year. I did not.
So now I am going to see if you have what it takes to not pick Kyle Larson again, or if you're gonna learn from your past transgressions.
So here's what I'm gonna say. Kyle Larson is not gonna win 4 in a row at Michigan.
Oh no, he's taking the stance again.
Kyle Larson will not win his 4th race at Michigan. I am not going to take Kevin Harvick because I don't feel Kevin Harvick should be on the table. So
we have banned Kevin Harvick from our picks.
I can't take Kevin Harvick
until further notice. He is banned.
Right. I'm gonna leave Kyle Larson open for you because there's no way he gets another win. And if he does get another win, I'll still be happy. So
I can't believe it. Okay, make sure you mark down how far we are in the podcast.
Yeah.
Because just in case, this could be really hilarious next week.
Yeah. He's not going to do it, man. He's not going to do it.
You could tie Austinville.
Not to mention, he's in a Chevrolet.
We just talked about how great he's been running.
Yeah, but he's not winning.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
I'm just saying.
It's not going to happen.
I got to give you a lot of credit because I really love that you are so. Yeah, I didn't think you'd do it. I didn't think you'd say no.
No, he's not. That streak has got to be broken at some point.
And you're not even beating around the bush. You are strong.
He's not going to win it.
Okay.
So here's my pick. My pick, I'm going to go with the guy that has run really well at Michigan. I've not always been a fan of his. And as a matter of fact, went to a race not too terribly long ago that I'm like, I'll be good if anybody but this driver wins this race. And this driver won this race. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to take him for 2 reasons. 1, I think he's got a good shot at winning it. 2, I think his press conference would be really fun after the race, so I would have no problem.
I think I know who you're going to pick here.
Being in the press conference with him. I'm going to say he gets the 2nd win this year. Mr. Joey Logano is my pick for Michigan this weekend.
I thought you were going to take another Penske driver.
Nope. As much as I'd love to see that as well, that would be a really fun one. Speaking of which, he is also scheduled to be in the media center at 1:30 on Friday.
Yep.
But no, I'm going Joey. So I'm guessing you're taking Kyle Larson.
Yeah, put me down. I might as well just take it because, I mean, we've got a chance at hilarity here. So
yeah, he's not going to do it.
I'm going to take him.
He's not going to do it.
He's got something figured out with these 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
And 2 mile ovals. So he's still pretty good. He's still pretty good.
You get the dark horse first.
Okay.
Who are you going for dark horse?
Oh God, I don't even know. I guess who?
I know my dark horse pick, and I know my second pick if you pick my pick.
I guess what do we consider dark horse anymore?
I would say if they don't have a win, they're a dark horse.
Any wins?
So I would be okay with someone like Chase Elliott being picked. I'm not trying to talk to anybody.
Chase Elliott.
It's not going to be Chase Elliott. I know you're.
I don't pick Chase Elliott out of principle. The same reasons you don't want to pick Kyle Larson to win his 4th straight Michigan race.
I kind of hope you pick who I'm going to pick, so I have to pick the second one. Oh, you're going to Eric Almirola. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going Eric Almirola.
Okay. That's not who I thought you were going to go with.
I feel like Almirola is going to win a race at some point this year. I really do.
Okay.
And I
agree with you. It's a good pick.
If you would have put me in a time machine and said, James, in 2018, you're going to say, I think Eric Almirola is going to win a race this year, I would have slapped you and said, no, you're crazy.
Well,
no, that guy's come a long way.
He's got a good shot. I mean, he's got an average finish of 20th at Michigan, so.
Yeah, but he's in much different equipment as he has shown this year. As he has shown this year, he is not that guy that he was back then.
All right. Well, I'm not going to pick the guy. I really want to pick who my second choice was just to get under your skin.
Do it.
But
I hope you do it.
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go, even though it seems like cheating a little bit because he's way high on the list as far as average finishes. He's only run there twice. I'm going Eric Jones, gets a win in his home track. I think I picked him last year as my dark horse,
There's
Michigan.
there's something going on with Jones this year, and I don't know if it's having him switch rides or what, but it feels like he should be better than what he's been.
I think he's in the same boat as Suarez. I think he's being missed. I think people aren't looking at him, and I think he's better than.
Not that he's not super talented. Maybe it's my own personal setting the bar too high for someone like him.
Right.
Because I think he's super talented. I think he's one of those next guys. But I think we've also been waiting for him. And he had some strong runs last year in that 77 car. He could have won, Michigan in August last year.
Right. Just another reason to pick him because he was right in the front.
Yep. I just feel like there's something. It's kind of like that Chase Elliott feeling that I have. It's like, yeah. So what's the thing that he doesn't?
Here's the deal. Last year we talked about Eric Jones that we thought he was going to break through and he'd get a win last year. Both of us agreed on that.
But he was darn close.
Right. His average finish last year was 17.1. His average finish so far this year 17.4. He's right on that mark still.
Yeah. So he's still going through some.
He does only have one top 5 this year. He's got 5 top 10s at this point.
Yeah.
So out of 14 races.
Yeah.
So maybe not. I mean, he had 14 top 10s out of 36 last year. So I think he's right on par where he was last year.
Yeah. And I feel like he should be a little better. That's just my personal.
I think Jones is one of those guys that gets a win and he starts winning more. Lots.
Yeah. And we've been saying that about Chase Elliott for years too. So
who was my backup pick, James?
It was Paul Menard, just to get under my skin.
No, it wasn't just to get under your skin though. He does have an Xfinity win there, and
remember that do you remember that victory lane?
Oh,
and
God,
that's when
I would be so mad.
That victory lane when he won that race, it finally clicked. It finally clicked for you, and you're like, "That's why James can't stand him."
Yep, that was the one.
Yep,
that was the one. So yeah, he does have a shot though. He's driving the Ford. And we'll see what happens. But
jeez, Pete.
I like Eric Jones, and I think Joey Logano is going to take it all this weekend. I think he's going to come out and just stink up the show.
Oh
no, not really. I think Harvick's going to win the thing, but
Larson wins.
Yeah,
it's
not going to happen. Man. Not going to happen. Not a million years. No way. So as I said, I will be at Michigan International Speedway this weekend. I'm going to be providing you guys with a ton of content. I will be definitely writing stuff because unlike at the Detroit Grand Prix this weekend where I did not have an assigned spot nor a seat anywhere that I could plug in the media center, this weekend I will have an assigned seat at the media center at Michigan International Speedway, already confirmed, and I will be able to write like crazy, and I will be there pretty much sun up to sundown all 3 days at Michigan. So lots of stuff coming your way, lots of photos. I'll try and post some Instagram stuff and Twitter stuff and all that I can do.
Yeah. Do it.
So keep an eye out, thesuperspeedway.com. Check out my Twitter feed at Eric8199. I'll post some stuff to the Super Speedway feed as well, at TSuperspeedway. Lots of stuff coming your way. So
hanging out with Pockrass and Gluck and all those guys.
That's what we'll be doing. Yeah. I'll probably be sitting in a corner by myself quietly. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time this weekend. Let's see. Fantasy League, James. Last week was the first week of the Summer League, right? Or is this week?
You are. Nope. Yep. That last week was the first week, and you took the win.
You
are winning the Summer League.
Hilarious.
Yes, and Todd is solid in last place. So
I won this weekend.
You won last weekend.
I did not even log in.
That's typically how it goes.
I don't even know who I picked because I didn't pick anybody.
Oh, that's not good.
No,
God, you won.
I probably had Truex in there. That's probably why, because I didn't have Harvick.
Let's take a look real quick. Oh, I can't see your team. Oh yeah, I can. Right here. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. You that's taking its time loading. Yeah, you had Brad Keselowski, Almirola, Kenseth, and Buescher.
Not bad.
Interesting.
Pretty good. Yeah. No, I didn't pick them. I haven't picked the last 2 weeks actually.
I mean, I thought you picked every time we did the podcast, so you wouldn't forget.
Yeah, I don't.
Did you do so when you're sitting there and you're telling me I'm going to pick right now? You're just lying to me. You're off doing something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't. Well, I can't do it during the podcast. I am not a multitasker. So if I start doing that, what's that?
It's usually our post-podcast show.
Yeah.
It's usually the show that only we get to hear and nobody else does.
One of these days we'll release some audio from it. Most of it's not appropriate.
Let's not do that. They take our podcast away.
Yeah, iTunes would definitely kick us off. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah, they would. They wouldn't like that.
So yeah, if you want to sign up for the Fantasy League, we're on after the first week of the summer season, but feel free to give us a shout on Facebook if you want to sign up for that and join us. There's still time to get in, and then we'll have the playoffs as well that you can jump in on and be back even with us. So you can do that. Patreon, if you guys want to become a patron with us and give us some support, help us get to a few more tracks and get more of the coverage that you'll be getting this weekend. Find us on there, patreon.com/thesuperspeedway. There's a bunch of different tiers on there that you can do to become kind of a part of the podcast, part of the site. And heck, you get one of the higher tiers, you can even come on the show. So hit us up on there if you haven't. Check it out. We really appreciate it. We appreciate any support we get. We appreciate everybody who's followed us and subscribed so far. James, you're not making the trip to Michigan this weekend.
Yep, but I will try my best to share and push out anything that you're doing. So
there you go. How can they find you if they want to find you this week?
At James Cush on Twitter.
As I said, you can find me at Eric8199 on Twitter. The Super Speedway's at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. Facebook, you can find us at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. I hope to go live at some point too. I don't know what I'll go live with, but I'll do something. I'll find something along the way, maybe in the press conference or something along those lines. So find the website at www.thesuperspeedway.com. Again, there'll be all kinds of stuff this weekend. I promise you there'll be at least probably 5 to 10 articles on there with some insight from the track and things like that. I was hoping to do it before the podcast, but at least Friday down there, I'm going to write up a little thing about how Belle Isle differed, how the IndyCar experience differed from the NASCAR experience. I know I talked about it a little bit tonight, but I've got some thoughts I want to put down on paper. So watch for that as well. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud, wherever you found it this week. We hope you subscribe. It is the Firekeepers Casino 400 Michigan International Speedway this weekend. Got the start time moved up from last year. No 3 o'clock start this year. It's 2 p.m.
Thank God.
Yeah, I know, right? You can find it on Fox at 1:30 p.m. On MRN and Sirius Satellite Radio as well. 400 miles at Michigan International Speedway. The LTI Printing 200 is on Saturday, which is interesting. I just noticed this. It is a 200-miler. Gone is the 250-miler NASCAR Xfinity Series race.
Yep.
So that will change some things up as well a little bit, make it a little bit shorter, a little bit more exciting, a little bit more reason to push with a package that might encourage some pretty exciting racing. So you don't want to miss that, and they're putting that on Fox as well. It'll be on the air at 1 p.m. Racing starts at 1:30. The Camping World Truck Series is racing this weekend as well. They will be in action late Friday evening at Texas Motor Speedway in conjunction with the IndyCar race. They go on the air at 8 p.m. Eastern, racing at 9 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. There you go. That's your racing weekend recap. I don't have the IndyCar Series on here, but the IndyCar Series is, I believe, still on ESPN this weekend, or are they on NBC now?
No, they're switching off.
They're on NBC now. All right, so they're on NBC this weekend on Saturday night, and I believe that's a late start as well, probably like 8 p.m. or something. So check them out as well. That race would be excellent, by the way. Might be a little different this year because of the new package. They won't quite be running like they were last year, but Texas is nuts, man, in an IndyCar. It's just insane. There's no way. I'll tell you what, I would get in a stock car any day. I would give it a shot. I would do the driving experience. I would love to be in one of these things. Not saying I wouldn't be nervous, but I'd be willing to do it. I would not get an IndyCar, period. There's no freaking way. I'm sorry. Those guys are nuts.
Right.
That's all I got to say about that.
It's scary, man. It's scary. I don't know how they do it without it, like at least a halo or a roll cage. Yeah.
It's coming. They'll have the windscreen, I think, next year. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, that's it. Michigan International Speedway this weekend. Tons of coverage coming your way. Anything else, James, before we head on out of here?
I think that's it, man.
Perfect. Let's do it. We'll be at Michigan International Speedway this weekend. Make sure to follow us. And with that, let's go racing.